How's it going, everyone? So today we're going to be doing a reaction video, and I think I'm going to start a whole series of this where I just do reaction videos to all the business advice that's been given out there, and then you'll see if I agree or disagree with it. I want to say in no way, shape, or form will I ever be attacking anyone on a personal level. Never that case, all right? I don't believe in that, and that's not what this channel is about. But I do believe in the idea of challenging ideas, right? I think good ideas obviously should be spread, and we should debate more on ideas that we disagree with. So without further, we're just going to jump right into the video, and I'm going to show you who I'm talking about today. So let's hear what she has to say.
To the channel. This video is going to be for the people who look at their inventory and think I have so much on my store, but I'm barely making any sales, or I'm working way too hard for the amount of money that I'm actually paying myself. This video is going to be for you guys. Now, when it comes to listing things on eBay, you can have an expectation on how fast or how slow this item will sell. And the key word here is an expectation. It means you have a plan for about how long it's going to take to sell, whether that's a month, 6 months, a year, however long it takes, you have an idea of how long this will take to sell. If you're just
good idea. Essentially, whatever you purchase, you should probably have a contingency plan for it. A lot of people do this in real estate, where they'll go ahead and they'll, remodel a house. And if they can't flip it in under a month or two, then they'll put it up for rent.
Just picking up items that have value, but you have absolutely no idea how long or quickly it'll take for these to sell. This is what you have to watch out for, because this could be like a silent secret killer to your store and lead you to have to walk away, either losing money or making hardly any money. This is called your sell-through rate. There are plenty of discussions about the importance of sell-through rate, how important, how not important it is, what the heck even is it. But to me, I think sell-through rate is very important of your store because it shows me how healthy or not healthy of a store you have. So let's dive into that so I can explain what I mean. I personally view stores that have a very fast sell-through rate as very lean. It's showing me that they can sell things quickly. They can turn new products over and over and over, no issue, making money and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And the stores that are really big but barely making any sales, I view as lethargic and really bloated. Shows me that they're having a hard time making sales, if they even can make a sale with some of the items. Sometimes items just don't sell in that situation. And I'll show you some very scary things that come with a very bloated store like that. Some people want that, but I personally do not recommend it.
Some
I don't
people
want it for
that?
myself. So I'm actually going to dig deeper into both stores and show you the cash flow in a very high fast sell-through healthy store versus a bloated lethargic store, and show you something that's kind of dangerous and kind of scary, and everybody should know about this.
Who wants a bloated lethargic store?
I am simplifying the store and the numbers just to showcase my point. So for this fake store, listing 10 items a day onto their store, but these items aren't for sure high sell-through rate items or home runs, banger items. They are just 10 items that they think they'll make profit on, and they add it to the store, not knowing if it'll sell or when it'll sell and how much money they'll get from it. And they're selling 3 items a day. Cost of goods, I'll just put it at $5. And the average profit that they'd be making with each item that they sold would be $15. And this is after eBay fees, after shipping supply costs, after the original $5 investment that they made into it. If they're listing 10 a day and only selling 3 items a day, that is growing their store by 7 items a day. This growth isn't always a good thing. Depends on how you're growing it and your intentions behind it. If you're growing it because you're throwing up as much items as you possibly can to just try to reach high numbers so you can start making a bunch of money, chances are this is a bad growth.
Whoa, you could reach high numbers to start making a bunch of money. Okay, essentially you're saying that you bought 10 items, you sold 3 items, and then you're stuck with 7 items. And then you're saying that this is a 7 item a day growth. Now, we normally associate the word growth with something positive. This is showing me that you currently have an efficiency rate of 30% because you're only moving 3 out of every 10 items that you incur. But so in turn, you would have an inefficiency rating of 70%. And an inefficiency rating of 70% in this case would equate to accruing 7 stuck items per day. And then it's like if you're arbitrarily, what exactly did you say that you're just, trying to incur these items for a big number so that you could sell them. But if you could sell them, you would have sold them. So I don't get how this is a bad thing labeled as a good thing, and yet somebody would do this intentionally at the same time.
Growth. To illustrate my point, we're going to have their 10 items that they're listing.
Okay.
Every single day, all of these are getting listed to their store. Because their store is growing, if they're selling 3 a day, they're left with 7 items growth. So that's going to be a $5 buy cost times 7 items every single day.
Okay, $35
means every
loss.
single day they're spending $35 in store growth. On the flip side,
why not just say $35
they're selling 3
loss?
items a day at $15 profit, which means every single day their store is profiting $45. So what we're going to do is we're going to scope it out a bit more, and we're going to look at what's going on over the course of a whole month of this. So every single day they're spending.
She did say bloated and lethargic earlier, so I don't think she meant growth. I think she meant like a 7 item a day bloat rate. I think that would be a lot more appropriate for what she's describing.
$35 for store growth, which brings them out to spending just over $1,000 in store growth. They are spending this out of their profits. And if every day they are profiting $45, their profit is
$1,350,
just under $1,400 for that month.
Yeah.
So they will be paying themselves, taking the $1,350 profit
minus the
$1,050 to accommodate the growing the store by 7 a day. They're giving themselves a $300 paycheck per month. So this is where you find yourself, I list 10 items a day and I'm only paying myself $300 a month. This is not working.
Technically, there's a $300 difference on the books. That doesn't mean that you get a $300 paycheck. I'm nitpicking, but you guys know what I mean. This is $300 gross profit. This has nothing to do with net.
Out. I'm going to deem these packages that are not selling. Who knows if they will sell? Maybe they will sell in a year, 2 years. Who knows? Let's view them all as anchors. These 3 are selling, the rest are not. And it's resulting in a $300 paycheck because you are paying out of your profits just over $1,000 to grow your store to an arbitrary number. So what we're going to look at is what happens when you drop all of this and stop listing it. Only list and sell these 3 items. Let's do the math. We're going to focus on just what happens when you are listing the 3 items per day that you know will sell. The COGS are still the same and your profit margin is still the same. Since you are having 0 store growth, that means you're not spending any extra to grow the store. You are balanced out. You're listing and selling the same amount per day. So you're going to have your 3 items that you're selling at a $15 profit.
I hope this is not where I think it's going.
Growth. So let's break down the math for what it looks like over the course of a month of doing this. $45 a day of profit gives you just under $1,400 profit. With your 0 store growth, you're giving yourself a major pay increase.
Whoa. Stop. Okay. First of all, it is unfair to take those 3 items and say, I'm only going to list the 3 items that sold. Essentially, the business model at this point is a law of statistics game. You had to have purchased those 10 items, excuse me. You had to have purchased those 10 items in order to find out which 3 was going to sell and which 7 was going to get stuck behind. Delisting them, they're still sitting in the stockpile behind you. Not to mention, when you initially purchased this thing, right, you still threw down, okay, let me pull up a calculator to show you guys. You're $1,500 in the hole because you said that the cost of goods is $5, right? And then you're purchasing 10 every single day. That's $50. And then multiply that by 30 days, right? You're talking about $1,500. So $1,500 is your initial upfront cost. Before you have to buy the stuff, you have to source the stuff, you have to get it, back home, right? And you have to do that first before you could sell anything. So your upfront cost is $1,500. You're $1,500. You're negative $1,500 in the hole right now. So in order to do this calculation properly, you're saying that you're selling 3 items a day, and where the $300 discrepancy comes from. Well, it's going to be like you take the 5 and then you add it to the 15, so it's at $20. And then you multiply that by 3, so now you have $60. And then you take this $60 and then you multiply it by 30 days, so that you have you have $1,800. You guys saw it before. It was $1,800, right? And then from here you minus $1,500, and that's how you get the $300 difference. Again, you had to go $1,500 in the hole first in order to do this. There was no way you're going to the store and just saying like, okay, I'm just buying the 3 that I know is going to sell, and that I'm just not going to buy the other 7. You didn't know which one was no good. You thought all of them had potential until you found out that 7 of them didn't. Another way for this thing to pan out is if you were able to return the rest of your goods that you weren't able to sell, so that you're left with an efficiency of 100% here, so that you have, what she says, 0 store growth rate. That's the only way this thing works out. So you're putting on your blinders and you're just omitting things that those 7 good. Okay, so basically you bought 300, you sold 3 a day for the past 30 days. So out of 300 items, you sold 90 of them, and you're stuck with 210 items. Those 210 items in that pile is still sitting there packed up behind you. Not to mention, this doesn't take an account for how many items out of those 210 items is going to sell the next month or the month after, or as she said about expectations, it could be 6 months to a year, who knows. So whether or not something is going to end up, becoming an anchor because it's like 6 months to a year or whatever, it's really difficult to say because of the way the business structure works. It's only starting to get overwhelming because the one-off items are accumulating too much. But usually if an item is not doing well on a if you had a bulk level supply of it, then you would just be closing out this item, the moment it's not selling that well, as opposed to, having a pile of dead items.
Decreasing your workload by a lot, only listing 3 items and selling those 3 items.
No, you delisted the other 7. You initially put in the work for the 10. And again, if you didn't put in the work for the 10, you would never know which 3 boxes sold. It's kind of like taking, she should lay out like all 10 of those boxes back on the table and put question marks on all of them. And then finding out that the 3 that sold, put stars on those, and then put X's or the anchors on the other 7. And that's the only way you're going to end up with that result. But we don't have a crystal ball. You can't skip to this level of the to this portion of the equation because it doesn't chronologically happen in this order.
You're not spending any extra money for your store growth, so you're able to pocket all your profit, doing way less work. So you might be asking,
you're not profiting way more profit because you were still $1,500 in the hole initially.
well, that's great, but I need to be making more than $1,400 a month. How do I make more money? How do I grow my store and scale it without listing a bunch of anchors? Once you reach a point where you are starting off small, listing and selling the same amount of items, you can do a simple increase to 5 a day. You do this and grow your store by 2 a day, something manageable. You'll be paying out of pocket, out of your profits for the 2. But if you ensure the quality of these items and knowing that they will sell,
how would you do
relatively quickly, and you know exactly how much money you'll be making off of.
How do you ensure that your items are going to sell without putting them in a statistical pile where, you know, the cream rises to the top? The cream still has to rise to the top of something. You don't just skip to the cream part. You still have to buy the whole bottle and then, you know, whittle out, like, you know, what the cream portion is.
Of it, they will not turn into anchors. They will not be dragging your store down.
Why would they not turn into anchors?
Slowly to the point where you're now listing and selling 5 a day. Once you reach that point and you're spending $0 in store growth, increase it a little bit more.
Okay, if you can, then you should race horses, because, like, if you could guess 3 out of 3, then you could move on to 5 out of 5, and then move on to 7 out of 7. Look, again, there is no way of knowing which 3 are going to sell without putting 10 listings to the test and then sacking 7 of them and, you know, getting money back for the other 3. Now, luckily, in her business model, just selling 3 out of 10 still puts you in the green. So essentially, if you wanted to move from $300 a month to $1,500 a month, which is close to the $1,400 a month that she's talking about, then the difference between 300 and 1,500 is 5, right? So you would just have to do 5 times the amount. So instead of having 10 random items and then only selling 3 of them, you would need to every single day source 50 random items and hope that the same ratio, which is 15 of them out of the 50 items, sell. And then at the end of the month, you would have a huge pile of unsold items, but you would still have $1,500 to show for because you did 5 times the work. But again, how much work did you have to put? You had to put in 5 times the work, which is 5 times the amount of stress. I don't know, 5 times the amount of hard work.
It is a slow growth, ensuring that your store is profitable and you are not having all these anchors weighing your store down, bloating it and growing it, working way too hard and making less money while you're doing it. This is a slow growth mindset. You cannot just jump into it and start listing all 10 a day unless you're a profit and you're perfect and you can see the future and you know everything you're doing is perfect and everything you're listing is solid and perfect. Chances are we're not like that. So just take it slow.
Right. We're not like that, and that's not going to happen. So I don't understand how taking it slow or moving quickly, like what is the difference? Like, you do whatever that you can handle because your turnover rate is always going to be your turnover rate. If you're, for some reason, very, very good at picking items so that you're always consistently able to pick half and you're able to sell half of everything that you pick. So every time you pick 1, you pick 2, you sell 1, right? Then I don't see what's the difference of, you know, going slower or going faster. This is not a question of bandwidth.
Just start with something that you know will sell. The whole point in scaling your store is so you can sell more items. Don't just throw a bunch of stuff onto your store expecting to be profitable and make a bunch of money, because this will lose you money. So if this is
right, but the thing is that, like, okay, so we all want zero bloat, right? We all want zero growth. So in that sense, then why don't you just go out and source like 100 items right away and then sell 100 items? It's because it's not going to work that way.
Clicking with you and you feel like your store could lean up, tone up, get a little bit faster with its sell-through, and you're feeling a little bloated, there are ways that you can improve this. And I want you to be able to take this panic that you might have in the pit of your stomach and apply it to something for good change and for the better. So let's talk about the ways that you can actually influence your store's sell-through rate so you can make it leaner and start turning a profit faster and making more money and having more cash flow within your business. So the first thing that I would do to make strides to have a leaner, healthier store would be to go take a look at my oldest inventory, the ones that's been sitting around on my store for the longest and still hasn't sold. And I'm gonna go through it either physically, manually with my hands, or you can go on the computer or your phone and search oldest to newest on your active listings,
the item, right?
And just research it. Just examine it. Ask yourself, why hasn't this sold yet? And think of as many possible reasons as to why this hasn't sold. Some reasons could be, you know, simply not a lot of people want this, or it's a very flooded market and hardly any buyers want it, but there's
this is exactly what I'm saying. Why would you find out later that hardly anybody wants this stuff? Wait, okay, when you shop, you're going to shop to the best of your ability, right? Nobody's going to go into a store and say, well, I don't think anybody's going to buy this thing, but I'm just going to try it anyways. That's just a silly type of thing. I don't think anybody thinks that cynically when shopping, right? So essentially, this is turning out to be kind of a do better, pick better kind of video advice. Because when she said, you know, about doing more research on it, why didn't you just do more research the first time around?
There's a lot of inventory, so the supply and demand just isn't there. It could be that it's in a completely wrong category on eBay and nobody would have ever found it. You know, it could have a better title. You have to have good titles to rank higher in the search results.
Why didn't you make better titles to begin with?
Maybe improve your picture quality. Buyers like to have as much information as they possibly can about the product before purchasing, and pictures can do that for them. Or it could simply just be that it's priced too high for what it is. So it's always good to go back and do more research on that item to see actually, is it in demand? Do people actually want this? And for what price now? Chances are you will find that the stuff that's been sitting on your store for the longest just is not as desirable or sought after by most people. If at all, you either have to take it down and try to relist it with a much better title, much better pictures. Chances are, if it's made it all the way to the end and it's been sitting for a long time, people probably really just don't want that item. So I would honestly consider pulling all of those items off of your store completely. Which brings me to my second tip. To pull all of your dead inventory that's not selling off your shelves, out of your boxes, off your eBay store entirely.
Okay, so this is creating a very skewed and inflated statistic, okay? Because it's like this. She wants a better click-through rate on her account. So instead of just accepting the outcome, right, that you are only able to move 3 out of the 10 items, and then you're having a bloat increase of 7, right? She's just going to remove that from her account. That way the account looks leaner by her definition. But the harsh reality is that you still have to deal with all the products that are behind you, right? They're still there. So what do you do with that? The whole point is that, you know, as she started in the video, that it's about expectation. So what happens when it doesn't sell? Like, exactly what is the contingency plan?
Barely, it's not for sale. And then I would honestly probably do a low maintenance, very cheap garage sale. Just try to recoup some money if you can. But the goal is to not take any of this back. And then everything else that might be remaining after the garage sale, or, you know, after you throw it up on Facebook Marketplace, whatever, see if anybody else wants it, then I would just donate it at that point.
Okay. Wow, that was a lot. First of all, you're switching over to a garage sale, okay, for dead items. And the problem with this is that it's very difficult to liquidate items that are already dead unless you have a liquidation type of source. You could close out items that aren't doing well and then get out of there, but you cannot close out items that are dead. Does that make any sense? Because it's exactly what she said earlier, right? This thing is done, like just nobody wants it. So when you're bulk sourcing an item and it's starting to do 10 a day, let's see if it goes up or down from here. If it starts to do well, it's absolutely a keeper. When the time comes, we're going to reorder. If it's doing 5 a day and it's kind of slow, it's kind of sluggish, then you know what? We probably need to do a sale on this item, bring the price a little bit lower, like closer to cost, but just, you know, probably make a lot less money on it, and then see if we could get people over the fence that are just like, you know, I kind of like the item, but I still think, you know, the price could be done a little bit better. So then we just go ahead and do that. So we go from moving 5 a day to 8 a day or something. And hopefully we don't have too much of that inventory. And once we get rid of it, we never order again. And that's why we call it discontinued items. So in that aspect, you know, the business model that I'm talking about is way less risk, because if an item is good, it's a keeper. If an item is bad, we're able to phase it out. But on these one-off items, the problem is that if you sell it, you're not able to replicate the business because you can't buy more of it. And even if you did sell it, how do you know it wasn't a fluke? How do you know, like, it wasn't something that you could just sell once? Is it really that braggable that you were able to flip you know, your everyday average item just once? How do you know it was just the one time, or it could actually do 30 sales a day? So without this constant source of inventory, there's really no way you could collect decent information on every single SKU or item that you're doing, because everything is constantly changing. If you look at all the SKU numbers behind her, they're really, really far apart. Okay, and it's just a completely different business model, I guess.
And I know you have to come to grips with it. You bought it with your money. That money was dead money as soon as you purchased it, and there's nothing you can do about it at this point.
That money was dead money as soon as you purchased it. So how do we avoid this?
Except get the dead weight off of your store and the bad items off of your store, so you're not weighed down by it or anything, and you can move on from it. Hopefully you can get
Okay, if you get the items off of your store so that you don't feel weighed down by it, I'm not too sure exactly because, okay, I removed some of these listings off of my store, and then I do the garage sale. Let's say the garage sale, it doesn't move, right? Because if you ever heard the saying, like, you know, I wouldn't take it even if they gave it to me. That, like, there's some truth to that. You know, there are certain items out there, as she said, just nobody wants it, period. And then you go on to Facebook Marketplace, and then, you know, wherever other websites that she said. So you're attempting to list this many times, right? You're running a physical garage sale locally and probably giving up your weekends to do it. And then just to end up possibly donating some of these goods. The moment you donate it, it is the equivalent of throwing it away to your business, you know, because your business is a living thing. If you don't nurture your business, it's going to die, right? So in a sense, it is an entity that you owe professionalism and dedication to. So for the sake of efficiency, I would just throw the items away. Because if I have to be, bothered with even more trouble that I have to pack things up, schedule a pickup or something, or drive it down to the Goodwill myself in order to donate these items, what is the difference to my business? My business is going to see it as, a complete zero loss if you donate it or if you throw it away. There's no difference towards the business. And that's what's really important here, growing the business, right? So I think if you're in a position where you ended up redonating the item again, this is bad. This is really bad.
Get some money recouped from it. That way you can reinvest it into better quality items. Step 3 is actually very, very basic, very easy. You do the opposite of step 1.
Buy better items.
Instead of looking at your oldest, you look at your newest items and you see which ones are selling fast and selling for good money. You examine what those are, and then you go buy more of those. And then we have step.
How do you buy more of those? When you go into a thrift store, because that's what she's doing, so we'll just use her example, right? When you go into a thrift store or TJ Maxx or whatever, and then you're just buying these things, how do you buy more of it, like after you've sold some? Because first of all, you don't know if it's a seller until you sold it, right? So after you sold it and then you go back to the store, are you really going to be able to find the same brand, the same color, the same size, the same, men's section, women's section, children's? I don't know. Like there's so many variables involved in this. If you had a steady item that you developed with a supplier and it's moving 35 a day, this is the part where you could safely say, yeah, this item is a banger. We need to get more of it. Okay, let me call up the factory and then find out what the lead time is, and let's wire them some money right away. But I don't see how this logic applies to the nature of one-off items. You see what I'm saying? So this is, it's strange to talk about these items this way when you're saying, well, you need to get more of it, but if we're being completely honest, you can't get more of it.
Step 4, having a markdown sale for the remaining of your items that aren't quite old enough to be heading to the chopping block. They're in between stages of they're not newly listed and they haven't been purged from the store yet. What do you do with those? The markdown sale is what I recommend for that. So what I have realized selling on eBay for the past few years, whenever my items become 3 to 4 months old, the traffic on them dramatically decreases than my newly listed items. And then it just gets worse as they get older and older and older to where they're getting no traffic at all.
I cannot attest to this, if that's true or if that's a myth, because I don't sell one-off items. I always have a certain inventory of it. And I remember that when my business was more in the adolescent stages, right? I had about 4 or 5 items under my belt. And there were times during that period where I would go on between anywhere 6 to 8 months without putting up a new listing. And there's no dip in sales whatsoever. And, I had 4 winners. I had one that wasn't doing too well. And, I'm slowly phasing that out, but I have 4 other winner items. So I'm chilling. I'm doing very well. And I use the money to pay my bills on top of develop my next item and my next item, right? And the goal is to have a whole stable of, really good items that is constantly moving for you. So I don't really understand exactly what she's saying here. And again, as far as like marking down things, that applies to things that are doing well or not doing well, not one-off items where even if you sold, you don't even know if it's really doing well, and unsold items where you don't even know if it's completely dead or not. So, price isn't even a factor of why I didn't buy it.
Like nobody's looking at this. So with a markdown sale, eBay will actually revive old dead listings from the grave, essentially, and give them a second chance. Hopefully that a savvy eBay buyer can come across it and be like, oh, that's a really good deal on this item. I'm going to pick it up. That's how I'm able to basically turn my store over multiple times a year, because I'm making sure that by the time something is like 6 months old, it's on the steepest discount, because I want that out of here. I want to move on, and because I'm always learning, I'm always grabbing for better inventory. So I want to get my dollars out of that item, reinvest it into something.
How do you grab for better inventory?
Faster, and for more money. So that is the benefit of having a markdown sale. Something I've realized with the markdown sales is that I get more traffic revolving around those sale items at the beginning of the markdown sale and at the end of the markdown sale. With that, I actually prefer to do like a 2-week markdown sale. That way I can have 2 sales starting and ending within 1 month. So I've realized it turns over my older inventory way faster. If you're only giving your markdown sale like a couple days, you're hardly giving it time. So just like you can influence a healthy lifestyle in many different ways, you can influence your store's sell-through rate of your
real quick, I just wanted to do this, right? Like how many shelves are behind her? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that we could see. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, maybe. Okay, let's just say that it's 7, right? 7, and then how many boxes are on a shelf? Like 15 boxes. Like there's 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times 3, 15. 15 times 7, 105. So there's like, 10 shirts in a box. So, there's 1,000 items sitting behind her, packed up.
Items, and I can go more into that in another video, but for now I just want to leave you with knowing the silent killer of a lot of eBay stores and how you can combat that by giving you those 4 tips. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, let me know what you found the most helpful advice was in the comments, and if you have any questions, let me know.
All right, let's come back up to FaceTime, guys. All right, so I think she's a very hard worker. You look at all that stuff behind her, they definitely put a lot of time and energy, and that is very admirable. Okay, I think she's very sincere with her words, and that's why, she says it with such conviction. So, kudos to that. But the issue is that this whole video was a very long and roundabout way to tell you to do better and pick better. Essentially, that's the main takeaway that I'm getting, right? So you got to be able to pick better. But the problem with this is that she herself is unable to do it herself as well, because everybody is ending up accruing a pile, right? So using her words of getting bloated and lethargic, no matter how you do this business, even within the best of us, over time, the account is starting to get bloated and lethargic with a lot of items. And in order to combat that, I need to go ahead and do garage sales and then put it on Facebook Marketplace or something like that. And then ultimately, if that still doesn't work, then I reduce the bloat by donating the stuff back to wherever they came from. That sounds awful in my opinion, because your business shouldn't have this issue where you're losing money this way. It should be you purchasing a well researched item, okay, and then it sells very well because that's what a well researched item is. Or you didn't research it that well, and that happens every now and then. But even if the item is not researched that well, it's still going to move some. So you'll still be able to, recoup all of your money back, if not make just a small profit on top of it. So you're not that much of a loss. But this puts you in a lot of positions where either you have to sell it at a loss, or you're just donating it or dumping it in some sense. So I don't know. I really urge you guys to really reconsider, taking a route like this. Anyways, What do you guys think of that video? Do you think that we should do more? Did you enjoy this? If so, give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.